Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, has lost the latest stage of his court battle over the level of security protection he receives in the UK. His taxpayer-funded protection was downgraded 5 years ago. The Duke says that as a result, it's too dangerous for him to bring his family to the UK, citing what he says is unjustified and inferior treatment. The three judges at the Court of Appeal rejected that today. They disagreed with his challenge, the three judges there, and they said that his appeal against the previous High Court decision would be turned down. This is what Sir Geoffrey Vos had to say in court as he summed up the decision.
The decisions taken in the decision letter and subsequently were taken, I said in my judgment, as an understandable and perhaps predictable reaction to the Duke of Sussex having stepped back from royal duties and having left the UK to live principally overseas. So the conclusion, in my judgment, with which my colleagues, Lord Justices Bean and Edis, agreed, was that the Duke of Sussex's appeal would be dismissed.
Yes, Sir Geoffrey said the Duke of Sussex's arguments were powerful and moving, and it was plain that he felt badly treated by the system, but he could not say that Prince Harry's grievance translated into a legal argument for a challenge. Well, let's speak now to royal commentator and journalist Afia Hagan. Afia, good to have you with us on BBC News. What do you think the implications of this judgment are?
Well, this is going to be hugely disappointing for Prince Harry. We know how serious he was about this particular court case. I mean, he came to the UK for the two-day hearing which took place last month. And this is going to be really disappointing for him. It's also going to have implications over whether he comes back to the UK with his family. We have seen him make quick trips. Like I said, he was here for that two-day hearing last month. And we've seen him make quick trips to the UK by himself, but without his wife, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and without his children, Lilibet and Archie. He feels that it's not safe enough for them to travel with him. And that means that he probably won't come back to the UK with his family for the foreseeable future. He might decide to take this further. He needs permission from the High Court to do that. He may decide to appeal and take it to the Supreme Court. We haven't heard anything from him yet, but it's very early in Los Angeles at the moment, so we haven't had a statement from him. But it's going to be disappointing for him, certainly. And it means that he probably won't bring his family to the UK because he feels that it's not safe enough.
Yeah, exactly. He said, hasn't he, that he wants his children to feel at home in the UK, but said exactly what you've just quoted, Afia. It's not possible to keep them safe when they visit the country. But, you know, given that desire that he has for his children to connect with their heritage and what you know of him, do you think it's likely, therefore, that he will try to appeal or seek permission to appeal this decision and take it to the Supreme Court?
This was a journey for him that was very, very personal. So I could see a situation where he would decide to seek permission from the High Court, like you said, and take this to the Supreme Court. Because when you think about it, it's his children, like you so rightly said, not being able to know their heritage, where they're from, and also huge parts of his family. You know, he hasn't been in the UK with his children since June 2022, which means they haven't spent time with King Charles III or with his brother or any other members of that side of the family. And so that's got to be weighing quite heavily on his mind, I'm sure. And so I can see a situation where he would take this further to ensure that he can bring his children to the UK and bring them here safely if he felt that that judgment would go in his favour.
Yeah, and one can only imagine that if he can't or finds it more difficult to actually visit the UK, whether him as an individual or with his family, then clearly those possibilities of reconnecting with the rest of the family are diminished.
Yes, they absolutely are diminished if he feels that he can't be here and can't be here safely. And let's remember when we're talking about Prince Harry and his wife and his children and their security, you know, it's downgraded from what they we're used to when they were working royals. But also, I think what should have been taken into account here, and perhaps what hasn't been taken into account, even though the judge said that there were powerful and moving arguments for his security to be back to the levels it was, he does face different types of threats other members of the royal family perhaps don't, because he has served in Afghanistan and written about it, and also because of the racist element of the threats that have been made against himself and his son Archie, as well as Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. You know, we've got people that have been convicted and imprisoned for making those threats against him, calling him a race traitor, threatening Prince Archie, and those perhaps are not being taken into account when his security is being judged on this case-by-case basis. And that's really what he's pushing for, that perhaps the threats levelled against him differ from other members of the royal family, so the security he had before would be sufficient to try and counter those threats. But if he doesn't have that security, if he doesn't have the measures that he needs to counter those threats, then yes, absolutely, it's going to be very difficult for him to bring his family to the UK, and therefore very difficult to build bridges if that's something that he wants to do with the rest of the family.
Afia, thank you very much. Afia Hagan there, royal commentator and journalist.